Okay, let me check the volume on this. Getting anything through? All right. Okay. We've got audio. We've got video. Let's rock and roll. So, thank you for joining in tonight. I normally am pretty chill with these and go slow, take my time, look for a interesting topic. But they have been going rather late lately, so I'm thinking I might want to speed things up a little bit. So I was looking at this drawing that I had done a while back. I'll pull it in here. Let me scale that one. There we go. And this is one from back in 2018, but I liked the idea, and I just never really got around to doing it. Now, I think I did mock up. I think I mocked up some of the colors for this one, but I hadn't gotten to really into the painting when I started on it before. Didn't go anywhere. Wasn't particularly successful, and so I want to take another crack at it tonight. That being said, you know I've already gone after this one and failed, so I don't know. Tonight might be one of those nights where things get ugly. We'll see. I'm sorry, I'm on the other screen here trying to find the... Okay, here is the mock-up. I'll pull this one up in Photoshop. And you can see this is a little bit crazy. Not quite... Actually, this is really a completely different... there's a different turret on there, different orientation for that. So I might take all of this into my other layout here. I'm not sure which one's larger. It's a little bit smaller. We'll give this a go. Alright. I kind of like what's going on with the water, though I think I need reference here. You know, this is kind of like light color. Really should only happen if there's a light source behind it, where that light is coming through. So we can pull up some reference real quick. Do waves and maybe a turtle for that shell styling. We need a like a sunken ship with some coral and barnacles on it, that sort of thing. What else? We need an octopus for these tentacles. I just ran into this video the other day that was it was kind of random. It was just like how awesome octopi are. So it's just it was a propaganda piece on the wonders of octopi. So take that for what it's worth. But it was interesting the way they change their colors and all that kind of stuff. Blend into their environments. Let's see. Got a few source images up on the other screen here. And I can show you those. I'll pull a couple of these over. See what I'm talking about. So right here for the ship. The back of the tank, I want to have this part of the ship there. And then here's for the turtle right there. So I'm just going to drag these right into Pure Ref on my other monitor. So I've got them all side by side, and I can close the browsers. And it's funny, I said I was going to go quick tonight, but nope. Not exactly. Got a couple waves here. Here's another. And one more. And as you could, as you saw in the original image, we got really crazy with the colors, and that's it's a marker of the style for Fantastic Tanks. So it's very vibrant, a lot of contrasting colors. Trying to get a very poppy kind of look to it. Let's see, what was the last thing? Octopus. Not octuplets. That's different. That's when you have 8 babies. We need the sea creature, please. Oh, that's cool. All right, I'll pull these references up as well. So. And we're going to use these for just the style. I mean, we're going to borrow bits of this, and of course, we're going to turn it into a tank. So it's going to get a little bit unhinged. Oh, hey, Tim. Tim's in the chat, but Tim is also right behind me, working on some decals for Fantastic Tanks. All right, so I'll pull this Pure Ref over so you guys can see what I have going on here. So I've got my octopus, got my waves, got my turtle, and that's it, right? Got everything in there? Good. Alright. I'll put that down there. Oops. Alright, I'm going to move this off to the other screen again. It's out of sight. So this was the mock-up that I had done a while ago, just something real rough. And then here's the sketch. And the sketch, I've got it on the ocean floor. I'll go ahead, copy this, set it to multiply, and then I'll start painting underneath. And for this, the composition changes quite a bit when you have it on the surface versus on the floor. So this grounds it a little more, makes it more of a tank rather than like surfing. But I kind of liked that idea, like the feeling that it gave, this thing like surfing on top of the waves. So really kind of pushing the absurdity of Fantastic Tanks. So I'm going to try a little bit of both. Let's go darker with that color. In fact, I'm just going to go, well, yeah, we'll paint it in. I was debating whether just to use a gradient fill, but this will be fine. And if we want to darken as we go up, maybe that's where we bring the gradient in, because this does not need to be too textured up here. Here we go. Maybe we use the smudge brush to get the variation. You might do like little bubbles or something going up to the surface, coming off the tank. You know, square bubbles. You know the type. Okay, and then we'll blend this sand into the background there. Okay, we got to do the silhouette for this. Switch that back to a lasso tool. We'll do the silhouette for the tank. I'm going to zoom in for this a little bit so we can have some smoother arcs. I'm using more of my arm. And we're just going to go with the larger forms. Try to get those blocked in nice and smoothly. Oops, a little bit too much there. Let's do that one again. Oops. Gotta be careful where I let go of that because it'll snap to the starting position, so I don't want to undo the work that I had done before. Okay. Get this. And with this, if you wanted to see immediate feedback on this, you could just fill it all backspace as we're going. So let me hide that background. We can see the silhouette that we're building here. So you don't have to. Oops, wrong. Filled that with the foreground color. Filled that with white. You don't have to have the whole thing as a lasso before you get it. Before you get the feedback on the silhouette that you're working on. I see Smack R in the chat there. That little cat hiding, peeking out of a box. Going covert tonight, huh? Okay. So here we can snap, so I can start where I want it to snap over. But I want to be careful that I'm not losing the gesture, of that original stroke there. So I'm going to cut that out to match the original, even though it's not perfect, and we may come back and adjust that, but it's kind of nice to have some fluidity to these lines and have them be a little bit imperfect. It kind of adds character to it. At least that's what I tell myself. Here, get these lines in. Get this shape. And one of the tricks you can do to keep a nice silhouette is you can just see here. I could just get the overall shape there, fill that in, and then come back and cut out the wedges, you know, where there's breaks in the silhouette. So for here, for example, we can just get that one nice clean arc there, and then come in and do our breaks here, and that will keep that line, you know, it holds this gesture, if that makes sense. And do some breaks down here where the sand and the suction cups, whatever you call those suckers on this tentacle tread meet. That's what that's called, right? A tentacle tread. All right. So we'll add in these little spikes up here. Then we can, I think, burn these together, burn in the shape, and go from there. Let's see, I'll cut a few more spots out here. We got a break in the silhouette. Do you want to clean that up right there? Let's hide our drawing. Let's see what our silhouette is doing. What are you up to, silhouette? And I can already see that I think I want to shift this side a little lower, because this all rises up, which is partly the design, but I think it's breaking the perspective. So anyway, we'll bring these all back together here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the channels, and actually before we do that, let's go curves, and we're going to get rid of all the kind of in-between tones here. So now we've got this silhouette. So we'll do control click on the RGB. That'll give us a selection mask from that. And I'm going to actually invert that, control shift I. Okay. Get rid of all this other stuff by just holding Alt, and so I'm cutting away all of this, these extra portions. Make sure we don't have any there. Okay, so now bring that back. That's the silhouette that we have to work with. So I think I do like the brighter version gives us more to work with. So anyway, I'll do Control Shift C and then Control V. And so now we'll hide all this stuff, and we've got this tank separated. Okay, there's a few areas here that we can clean up. So we'll go lasso tool, and in fact, we'll just go with the magic wand here, and grab a bunch of this stuff. Wait for it. Photoshop is chugging. Okay. That's probably sufficient right there. Get that and that. Make sure we got those. And just hit delete. That should get rid of everything, most everything outside of our tank silhouette. And because we made a selection on a grayscale area when we went to our RGB path here, or channel, RGB channel, this is not 100% opaque. It has some pass through to it, so if I like put something behind it, you can see that. So we can line it up, right, and then merge those together. We've got a shape. Or if you end up in this situation where you got this, and you want that to be a solid silhouette, then you could do the exact same steps as we did before. So you add either levels or a curve, and then you lock these into black and white, and that's your mask right there. Okay. Of course, you need to invert it, but you can go Control click on your RGB, so you're grabbing your light and dark values. Control Shift I to invert that. So now you've got a mask out of that. So we can, there we go. So we can fill this actually. This is our drawing, and say we change this to multiply, and then we want to do a couple ways we could do this, but let's do a new fill, fill solid, and we'll pick our tank color. And actually, instead of doing a group like this, so you can do it all in a group, hide it, or you could take the mask, bring it down to the color fill, and then pin your drawing on top of the color fill. So we actually don't, we can just hide this mask. We don't need that anymore. And anyway, what that lets us do, we can make some quick iterations on this shape in the scene. Whether it's going to read as dark or light. And of course, we can deal with our drawing as well. So we can bring back the amount of how much of that comes through here. So we can constrain it just to our blacks, or we can have it fade in. Anyway, something like that. Seems half decent. Probably should have pulled up a reference of a conch shell there. But let's go with our octopus as a base. It's kind of a yellow or a orange red, and it shifts into these purples here and there. So we'll go somewhere like that. And this we can adjust as well. So we'll go adjustment, hue saturation to our drawing. Colorize that. Bring that up. We can play with different colors to see how they interact. I kind of like this green, blue-green here. Okay, something like that. All right, so we've got this. We could take this and let's see if we can. We can't warp that, but we might be able to change the perspective, hold control, and pull in that back corner. This might get a little wild, but let's see how much we can get away with without needing to redraw too much of it. Some of it we are going to have to redraw, of course. Basically, we just want that far corner to recede. This the mast slash cannon is going to have to it's going to have to grow a little more. Guess we can't really do it that way, can we? Because these are two layers. We could merge it down. Let me just. I guess we'll just copy those. So just Control Shift C, Control V. So then we got this separate area here to deal with. Put these back in. Let's see. Nope. So the smudge brush is it's got some scatter to it, and so the jaggedness, the faster I move with it, the more jagged it will become, and the slower I move with it, the smoother that smudge will be. If that doesn't make any sense to you, then if you're familiar with how brushes work or not, so you come up here to the brush settings and you turn off spacing, and that's what makes it work that way. Okay, we'll come back to this. That's our turret. So let's see. We actually don't. Yeah, that's our original. And then this is our warped one. And I'm just going to go ahead and, well, we'll save this mask, but then I'm going to merge these together. Merge those layers. That'll give us a raster layer. And I think I will remove the cannon and then use liquefy on the rest of it to get it generally where it needs to be. So, see you later. And now we'll go to liquefy. Alright. We'll get this starfish here to wrap around the form. this will all kind of end up getting drawn over anyway there. This I want to show more of the kind of interior back there of that shape. So that's like a kind of like a block, but then part of it you're looking, you know, into like a negative space there. Let's see here. This should be more rounded. Pull in this back here so that that's receding in space. Bring this down. Get the gesture of these, whether they're, let me back up a little bit on that. Like, I'm not sure if I want these to be, you know, facing up like this, you know, so they're kind of stronger at the top, or if I want the opposite effect where they're you know, coming down to these flat. This to me makes them feel a little more what's the word, like gelatinous, like there's kind of more weight and give to it. That's fine. So let's see. And you know, part of the reason for doing it this way is that for most of the other tanks, they don't have that form, and so it's kind of just an excuse to try a different form because the subject allows us to experiment a little bit with that. Whereas I think some of the other tank designs are not going to allow us the same amount of freedom. These don't quite line up. We'll have to clean this in that one area up there, but let's go with that. Now has a bit more weight to it, and then here's our cannon. We'll adjust that. Grab the whole thing and decide, whoops, whether we want that higher or lower in the scene. I like looking up at it a little bit. You know, our horizon, you know, it's gonna affect that a bit, though in this case, you know, we always fudge it a little bit. Give ourselves the freedom to have these kind of warped, crazy scenes. Alright, let's go look at that. And we'll start marrying these two drawings here. smoother lines on these shapes here. Part of that got lost when we did our liquefy. Just why I don't use that too much. One of the reasons. I want that line to carry through there. Smooth this line out here. And make sure, just checking the shape of these arcs here. Like if these aren't strong enough, it's not going to sell the perspective of this gun barrel pointing towards us. So you got to make sure those have the appropriate elliptical shape. You know, if they're too tight, as in like more flat, then it implies that the gun is looking, you know, straight off to the side. But if you're coming more towards us, then they need to be more round. You know. It's not rocket science. Not even sure that it's tank turret science, but it is something helpful when you're dealing with those kind of forms manually. And tonight's rather different than most nights. I don't usually do much drawing, so usually just jump into blocking in the major shapes, you know, jump right into color and all that stuff, so it's a little different. You're welcome. So I'm sure that you can get a much better drawing tutorials out there. But I appreciate that you found yourself here. That's not much of a sales pitch. Oh, that got a little wonky back there, didn't it? Let's get that guy blocked back in. I'm just gonna do it. without trying to grab too much of that original drawing. I don't think there was really much left there that we could salvage. So let me go with this. This back area right here, try to clean that up. Get these lines going in the right direction here. We're going to imply with this blue that that's the interior shape back there. Get these barnacles here. And if we just have one arc that goes like, so if we're looking at this as an ellipse, see I'm just making an ellipse there. But we're just going to hit it here and come around and use that blue here. Fade a little bit, fade into the same color there. I think I want this to be like a little ledge. I don't know, I kind of liked what that was doing before. Maybe we'll just hit a few, put a few marks in there and apply some more detail. This is like the rudder, and it has barnacles on it. That's the idea right there. That'll have to get cleaned up for sure to get that to read. I think that would just be a matter of kind of giving it a flat color to imply that it's receiving light, directly from that plane as a flat plane rather than like a curved. All the rest of this form is pretty curvilinear. So do we want this to extend beyond there? It might be too much. Do we want to get some of the light to hit the end of it? Okay, bring in some more weight on some of these lines here. Line weight, so if you're not familiar with the term, that's just the thickness and strength of that line. So there are a couple different ways that you can exploit that for your purposes. So if you want to put a thicker, more weighted line around the silhouette, that helps to break that shape out. If you want to put a thicker line on the silhouette of shapes that are closer to the camera, that's another way to get them to read, separate this portion from the background here. So for example, this tread here, I thicken up that line on that edge so that it comes forward from the tank body that's behind it. Now the other thing you can do with that is you can use a heavier stroke or a heavier thickness on the bottom facing planes, because they're going to receive shadows, and so that implies the shadow there. So that's another use for line weights. And the combination of all that is, well, that's where a lot of the artistry comes in, where you're making those decisions. But you can see, you know, a thick and thin line, and adding that variety it adds this nice visual interest. You know, and you're gonna have to push and pull it and make decisions on how you want that to work. Okay. So if you're working traditionally, and the original drawing was a traditional pen and ink drawing, there are a couple tools you can use for that. You could use a brush, of course, but they have these, Copic makes these brush pens, brush markers, so you get that nice flow of the marker that you don't have to go back and forth for ink, but then you can also get that brush tip, and that's kind of nice. Alright, I'm going to leave this black here as a core shadow, and then bring in some reflected light down here. This is going to allow us to have some more value, some more light back there without bringing it too bright. You know, we want to have this be in shadow back there, but if it's just completely black, and that's a choice. You can I can't remember what that term is, spotting or whatever. You just fill the whole thing with black. But I think more often than not, that was a consequence of accidentally doing a little too much on a line, going a little too thick, and then just filling it in to save yourself, fix that mistake, I guess. But it can be used to great effect to just make decisions about what is worth seeing in the scene and what's not. You know, if you want to draw the eye, or if you want to have less attention in an area, of course you lower the contrast. And if you want a really dramatic look, you know, like heavy shadows and stuff, then just, you know, fill that in with black. Alright, these lines, I want to reverse their direction. I don't like what they're doing there, because the form kind of turns away from us, and that was not the original drawing. So we're going to reverse the hatching on these. Hatching. Okay, I think we can bring in, see what do we have here? A couple different, oh I see. I'll go ahead and erase this background here because I've got, see there's a, oops, we got that mask back there coming up. That is no longer a relevant part of the design. And this one, I think we'll adjust that flag, get it up higher in the scene, have that kind of just disintegrate, and I have that line kind of disintegrate there. Okay, so let me group all this together. We need to end up somewhere soon with this one because I don't have as much time tonight. But I think we can add in some gradations, and then we'll do. We'll jump right into our overlay, color balance, all that standard stuff we do to get variety, and you can really quickly get some interesting results with those adjustment layers, and so sometimes that's enough to just spur the imagination to get things going quickly. So I'm going to grade in some of these forms so that the background to foreground has like a color grade and a value grade too. And that should help to sell some of the depth, and also make the image a little more interesting. Grab some of that blue. We'll do another layer here. We'll pin that down. So we're just getting that silhouette back there. So a little bit farther back. That's probably too much on that one right there, but bring this in here. This will actually increase the value on that one back there. Who do you think would develop a tank like this? You know, besides like Davy Jones or wherever. I read somewhere that there are at least some party of Portugal is interested in making the claim that they have a rather large swath of the ocean there because of the shelf, the pretty extensive shelf around Portugal, and I don't know, maybe they have a need for a submersible tank force. Who knows? What are you talking about, Eric? You're losing your mind. I don't know. If you see them do that, you know, remember, you heard it here first. It's my idea. So the interesting thing, I mean, obviously, it's a joke there, with fantastic tanks is, we were talking about this today, the crossover between what you expect from tanks in terms of like the nationalities and the different military interests and so forth, and how does that fit into the actual Fantastic Tanks world? And the big idea is that it really follows that concept art form of you're gathering cues from the real world and you're implying things that we recognize, so that the designs are readable and you understand what you're looking at. But in terms of the actual story, this is a completely different world. If that's not obvious enough. In case it needed to be said. I have not seen any crab tanks yet. I just saw your comment there, Tim. Gungan tank. Yeah, Disney, if you need any ideas for future animated Gungan films, hit me up. I got it figured out. Go with we'll go back to the overlay. Set this to overlay, and we'll go with actually I'm kind of enjoying working with harder brushes, a little messier. I want a little bit of opacity fall off, but not too much. So I think I'm going to do the Nasty Square Standard. One of my faves. And let's choose our colors wisely here. A bit of a green and our light. And what do we need in our shadow? I wonder if a little bit of purple would, it's going to give us that poppiness that we were talking about earlier, make it pop. But it's definitely going to lose any illusion of depth, so we need to do it most in the areas that are farther forward on the tank, like as in closer to the camera, closer to the eye. Because if we get into the background too much, that richness and saturation is going to break the illusion of the atmosphere of the water. So, and let's tread carefully. I'm going to back up here a little bit and squint. It's going to give us some more information on what we ought to be doing here. All of this, I'm sure, is going to need to be tempered. I want to bring it in to show the, the kind of sliminess of these tentacle treads. However, you really wouldn't get that effect underwater, so we may end up completely nixing that, because that whole specularity there would actually be the water. If it's up on the surface, that would be the water reflecting light, and so since we're below the surface, that is not how that would work at all. You can't just go all willy-nilly with these fantastic tanks, you know. They gotta be believable tentacle treads, right? What is this guy talking about? All right, let's diminish that effect. See how much it's doing. I like it quite a bit. I think the brighter values are not as interesting to me. They're getting too unwieldy, something like that. Okay, let's go color balance. So sometimes when you do a color balance, it's good to split it out into different channels. So just check, okay, what is it doing to luminosity? What is it doing in terms of saturation? What is it doing in terms of hue? and then make your decision based on that. Whether you want all of those factors combined or just one or two of them. Okay. Do I want that on just the tank or the whole scene? I think we'll do it on the whole scene, kind of homogenize things here. I'm gonna pin a new layer here. Maybe we'll do multiply, and I'm gonna zoom out for this one, and just see about breaking these shapes up graphically. Trying to make some breaks in the shape. Go to my smudge brush here and smooth these out. And maybe we go very heavy with it in a couple of areas. Let's see how that works for us. I actually liked that before. Let's go ahead and carry this shape through here. See what is pulling that color down darker. Is it the combination of all these things? Yeah, so this one will allow some of that light to come through there. Let me zoom in so I can show you what I'm talking about. Right up here, I want this light value to pass through behind that mask. So bring this down like that, and then bring it in here. I'm going to start grabbing some of these values and working them in on these upper planes here. Kind of eliminate some of the line work that's just black, and reintroduce it as a light value. So maybe like up here, for example. This might be too heavy there, but we'll do what we always do. We'll block it in, and then if we don't like it, take it out. Of course, we're doing this to delineate these shapes. It's kind of a repetitive story, right? It's kind of pushing and pulling, getting things to come forward, pushing them back. Kind of the quick, fluid nature of those. Don't want to get too tightened up and have those lose their appeal. Okay, then we'll go with like a darker light value, darker than what's in the foreground here. And we'll bring it, introduce it in back here. And maybe go one step darker and then do it again back here. I'm going to decrease my brush size as I'm doing this as well, so that I'm not implying accidentally that the size or the scale of that line is the same in the background as it is in the foreground. I'll probably get rid of those ones in the background, honestly, just because I would just want that background to fade away. But we'll block them in. Give this a little bit more texture up here, and that'll help sell that that's closer. Kind of dark back here. And again, this will probably get knocked out. I want to put it in there for now, just to have something to come back to and make a decision on that later if we need to. Any little barnacle bumps on there. Those are probably, well, definitely too heavy, so we'll lower that value and hit those again so they're not as strong. Mighty barnacles. Okay, there's another area. Oh yeah, back here we had a whole bunch of barnacle-y things going on. I'm gonna hit my eraser and just come back, make those all a little bit messier, smaller. Don't want them to have the same kind of pronounced edge as the kind of the main turret there. I want that to have a more defined edge. All right. So we're going to go ahead and take, if this layer is in these darker zones, we're going to lower it back. So we're going to blend all that background stuff that we did. We're just going to increase, or rather decrease the amount of effect it has back there, so that kind of blends better into the background. I think this is too strong up here. So just smudge that out. And then from here, I'm tempted to just paint directly onto this and get these colors. Coming through here from this top side, coming back and maintaining a lighter value there, lighter than the turret, the main gun here, so that separates those. All right, I'm going to mute myself for just 1 second. Alright, I am back. Said check to see how much time we had left. And though I don't really think that this one is to the point where I would call it close. I think there's a lot more that could be done on this one. I think we're just going to have to limit our time tonight and revisit this one. All right. All right. So let's come back to the reference and see how we might address some of these areas. So in the reference, you got this kind of yellow, orange yellow. Growth all over this ship. So we're going to bring some of that in. And this we're just going to kind of hand paint in there. And since we've already got a base going on here, we can fairly closely follow, the shadows and stuff that we've already set up. back in the background. Get some of these up. So again, we're delineating these with hue as well, foreground and background, because this element back here has this different local color on it than the shell right there. I actually think I want to adjust that so that you can kind of follow it up rather than right at that point it was kind of curving in. Alright, do we want this turtle shell? I think we can get this a little more in the orange range here. And the nice thing with the turtle shell is it has this nice rich core shadow on the edge of that. I mean, I actually think it's the way that the shell has, colors have, local colors are formed, but it tends to be right at that break, and I don't know if that would be from, the way it reacts to sunlight or something, but it's pretty interesting. Interesting effect. Looking at this turtle, and he does have kind of this yellow green underlight, ochre, I guess you'd call it. I don't know. I was always confused about what that color described. Yellow ochre. There's kind of a light, it's almost blue. Let me get it into this kind of teal range here. These light breaks in the pattern. And we'll kind of have them come in and out of our drawing to show that these little forms here, obscure the pattern. So instead of what I mean by that is instead of drawing like this, just doing it heavy-handedly. We're going to break that line in quite a few places. So we want to imply that it's got that kind of a pattern to it, but we want to have it come in and out of our view. So you can almost think about it like you're pointing to an area. You're drawing each one of these shapes as like a triangle, and the corner points to a place where, you know, if you follow that line farther in the canvas, it'll pick up again. So like right here, you know, this implies that you follow that down, you'll see that little spot right there. Yeah. Go darker with this one since we're on the underbelly here. Alright, let's look at these tentacle sucker things. Because I have a hunch that these are going to be quite different once we start getting to it. So the first thing is that they're much more fleshy. Bring in some of these warm tones here. I guess we do the same thing, but it's got to be really muted in the background there. Okay, let's see. These kind of softly transition. So I think if I block in some of these colors and then use the smudge brush here. Seems to be the way. Okay. And then the suckers, or whatever you call those things, I'm sure an actual like octopusologist, you know, if that's your thing, you'd be offended by me calling them suckers. Probably have a proper name. But those things in our reference image are almost like this purple white, which is kind of interesting. So we're going to do that. Well, Tim did some Googling for me, so we're in the clear. They are, in fact, suckers. No oceanographers need be offended today. Though I'm sure we'll get around to it. Okay. So these things they're interesting. It's like their translucency, they kind of are like light is coming through them, so they blend a little bit. And then on the very edge, they're kind of pigmented. Okay, let's go with a darker color there. Right. Okay. So I think we need to get that edge in there. First of all, let's see if we can maintain any of our underdrawing. So I'll just change the blend mode here. Kind of works overlay. Okay, so we'll do probably a combination here. So we'll go overlay. We'll bring this one in as normal. We'll drop it down. And maybe allow some of those darker lines to be there. Okay, now we need our rim colors. It needs to be clear enough that this is a local value and not they're rather a local color and not a light shift. If that makes sense. Do that with multiply. Color burn might do it for us. Let's do it also on these background ones. I forgot to lighten those ones up back there. So let's do that real quick. I might drop that back. I like some of the smoothness of what we had going on here before. Maybe we can compromise with leaving the dark in here like that, and allowing some of that light. light to be. I don't know. Not sure what I like more. We'll do okay, and we'll go back. Come back to it. Something like that. Okay, so we'll go back to our these ring layers, and let's change the blend mode on these so that they shift a little bit as they go from from the dark value to the light value, kind of like that, vivid light. And you can go kind of 50-50 with these. You can kind of get close to the value or the color that you want, and then if you want to bring in another one, change the blend mode, so that you're not completely reliant on that blend mode to do all your heavy lifting. I'm just going to do really quick. And bring in the center of these suckers. And this other value needs to be much more subtle. Couple things here real quick. Bring in some texture, and then going to erase out. And this should actually be below all this other stuff. Yeah, probably up here. Makes sense. Nope, down a little more. And then we're going to add some veins and stuff. Set this to multiply, I think. Maybe color brain will work. Probably getting too uniform with those. So be careful. Careful with that. Maybe have one of these come up and over like that. Alright, and then we'll drop that back. All right, all of this for sure could use quite a bit of polish, but I think I'm starting to get it to the point where I can see where it's headed, and I can pretty much determine that I'll be able to finish this one to a good degree of polish. So we're not there yet. We're not really in that ballpark, but I think we've established a lot of the important things. Some things in here I'm sure we'll have to come back and just redo them, you know. Okay, I have a hunch that some of these suckers will just have to be repainted, you know, to correct, to get the right angle, to get the right feel and everything. But I think that we're close. We're selling the idea now. All right, let's have one more look over before we decide to back off for the night. So I'm gonna grab some of these values, bring them into that background so that they're referencing each other. Bring some of this down in value actually here. And maybe, oops, have that backlit. Here are these guys. The hard black shadow there is going to make those look more solid and less gelatinous. So that's why I was saying earlier that or a few minutes ago, that I think those will probably need to be repainted. And it's really that. That is the reason there. I want them to have the appropriate kind of read on their material. And that might take a little back and forth, a little more study on the actual reference image there. Block that in there. Separate these. Just some kind of like, I don't know, it's gotta be like sand kicking up or something, right? Because this baby's rocking and rolling, hustling down there, moving quite fast. So Tim is giving me a suggestion here. We'll see if we can do this real quick. Tim is kind of like my version of Siri, but he's not allowed to talk. Okay. Alright. Let's do, Tim suggested that we bring in some light in the sand here.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
You didn't catch the part where you're not allowed to talk. Alright. We can do these as these little wedges of light. Maybe some caustics, water. Seaweeds back there or something. Yeah, I don't know why I made this so linear, you know what I mean? Like this could be all these interesting things back here that are the ocean floor. Why'd I make it flat? What's wrong with me? Don't answer that. Okay, well, we gotta wrap this up. But, all right. Of course, there's more to do, but I don't know, this was had fun with this one. I think this is definitely one where we could do another color, what do you call it? Color balance. But let's see, maybe curves. You gotta be careful with curves. Or rather, I should be careful with curves. Because I get crazy ideas when I start getting into one. I'm just gonna hit this with a airbrush real quick. Whoops. Lost the pressure sensitivity there for some reason. Okay. Sorry for that long silence there. It's kind of what I have to do when I feel like I've got to fix something in the design. Gotta turn the mouth off and turn the brain on sometimes. No guarantees on the result. So. All right. Okay. Let's see. So right here, what I'm going to do, just real quickly, bring this back forward. You know, reduce this fog effect there, because I want that to still have some prominence. Okay. Well, I have got to head out for tonight. It's a little, no, not that much shorter than usual, but that's what we gotta do. So, thank you for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed. And if you were painting along, you had success on your own project. All right. Thank you for joining tonight, and have a good night.